Before we bring the guys in today, I just wanted to wish a very happy birthday to one of my oldest and best friends, Mr. Sebastian Sebastian. Just wanted to go through a little history of our friendship together. So I met him in seventh grade, and my oldest memory of him was he would wear these LRG shirts. I think we had a seventh grade gate class together, and he would wear these LRG shirts. And me being the smart ass little shit that I was back then, and Sebastian having a little more poundage than normal, I would tell him that LRGs meant large and that that brand was just for large fat people. Fast forward a couple years, we were kicking it every day during tutorials in high school. My what I recollect from these times was that he educated me about popular and mainstream culture, things that I was lacking in. I had two very straight edge sisters growing up who were not into hip hop or any of that type of stuff. I didn't know anything about a lot of these old movies or rock things. And I remember Sebastian always telling me, taking the time to tell me and educate me about stuff. I learned a lot about. Yeah, I don't think I even knew Kanye at that point, like or ninth grade or something. I was just getting into Kanye. We talked about it a lot. Um, Going and hanging out during tutorials at the island. I think that's where we also got pretty close. With it was an intersection of two groups really. It was the basketball team and Sebastian and a couple of his friends, and I think we all just kind of married each other on that island in the tutorial during tutorial. Uh, Fast forward a couple more years, me, him, Johnny, JT, and a couple other people, or some of the few people who stay back, go to local community colleges. Pretty much everyone else is at UC or USC or out of Brian's at USC. A couple other people are out of state. So we were in probably the dullest time of my life was going to IVC, going to those classes. But having Sebastian, Johnny, and JT there was made it much better, and in particular Sebastian. Uh, we during this time we got into EDM and it started a couple years earlier in high school, but we really got into it and became kind of hallmark features of our months or weekends. It was going to a different rave or something like that. And I don't know if Steve will want me to tell anybody this, but he and a couple of my other friends who were people of important note in that scene, that raving scene. I won't say what they did, but let's just say they were well respected. And what I remember from that time was he always introduced me to all of his friends. Like I was instantly accepted. They're a very cliquish group, uh, and the fact that someone like me who had no skills in what they were doing was allowed to hang out with them and kick it with them and like pretend like I was one of them had a lot to do with Sebastian in my mind. And it was because one, they respected Sebastian, and two, Steve's vouched for me, and that was enough for them. And then during also this time is when we started going to dispensaries together. And this might be a unique take, but I miss going to dispensaries with Sebastian more than I miss actually blazing with Sebastian, or smoking weed with Sebastian. I remember going to these like hole in the wall places in the middle of Santa Ana, Costa Mesa, uh, Newport, and finding these random dispensaries, and it'd be very covert operations. We'd try like is these 19 and 20-year-olds trying to get into and look at all this different types of weed and just pick it up, and how cathartic it was just to go leave the house and pretend like it was like something independent we could do. I remember those vividly. I wish we could do it these days, but it doesn't happen. But I actually miss going to dispensers with Sebastian. And then also during this time, pre 21, close to 21, we were staying at our parents' house, and we're not much to do. Um, so we would always struggle to find things to do on the weekends, and without fail, Sebastian always was willing to have us over, and his parents were always willing to have us over, whether it was like a Friday night Laker game, Saturday night fight, Sunday night football, you know, Champions League, whatever it may have you. We were always welcome. His parents always let us come in, even though we were making a ruckus, stinking up the place. They fed us, they housed us, made it, and when we were too drunk, made sure we got home safe, and just were like always like a second form of parent. So I think a lot of Ali's and Allison's good qualities are have been passed down to Sebastian, and I think it's proven over the last 15 years. And then just for me, I feel like I've gotten older, and as I've gotten older, I feel like I'm getting more self-centered, and I don't do enough to maintain my relationships, or I come and go. Uh, I float. I suppose the right word is I float. But whenever I float back to Sebastian, it's honestly as if nothing has changed. It's like picking up like just where we left off. It could be 2 weeks, could be a year. And to me, that's the sign of like a true friend, someone you can just pick it up as if no time has passed and it feels organic and natural. So, while over our 15 years of friendship, 15 plus almost now, yeah, I can confirm Sebastian can be stubborn. He can be a little difficult at times, but without doubt, I think he's proven to be like a good person, one of the good ones we have on this earth. So, happy birthday, Sebastian. Many happy returns, my friend. All right, welcome back to Bool Boys Pod, episode 12. Got Sebastian over here. We're talking about Champions League to start off with. Then we're gonna go into game of the week. Brian's gonna come in. We're gonna talk about Arsenal versus Tottenham, the North London derby. Uh,
Derby, bro.
Derby. And then we're gonna go into minority wins in Hollywood, a cool segment to evaluate how well our respective cultures are doing and have penetrated the Hollywood mainstream culture. So, for example, I'm Indian, Sebastian, we'll call him Iranian today, Iranian, and then Brian will be Vietnamese. And we just look at like overall in the last 50 years or 60 years of Hollywood and mainstream culture, what wins we have. For example, as everybody remembers, Jai Ho and Slumdog will probably be one of mine. Um, then we return with top five. Sebastian's doing top five. It'll be best rappers, and then Bool or Bust, of course, and song of the week is Brian's. So let's first talk about. I mean, Champions League came back this week. Arsenal played PSV. They played very well, contrary to how they played today. So we'll talk about that later. I don't
No
want to get into that,
spoilers.
but no spoilers. No spoilers. But yeah, Arsenal played PSV. They played a great game, I thought. For a complete clean sheet. Raya got the start over Ramsdale. I thought that was interesting. Anything else on Champions League? I think our win was fairly straightforward. What about your thoughts on Champions League Week 1, Sebastian?
Pretty much agree with what you had to say. Big contrast, but let's not get into that. Yeah, big contrast with today, I mean, but um there was a few good matches. I was really gutted for Union Berlin. I felt like they deserved the point against Real Madrid. Your boy, not my boy, I want to make that clear. Um really saved the day once again for them, and it was frustrating because Union did what they were supposed to do for 90 plus minutes, I believe. Um, I was, on the contrary, very pissed off for Atletico. That was a very stupid goal to concede to the goalkeeper in like the dying minutes of that match. But they got a point on the road, which was good. Um, and one thing I would say is, I that Man United Bayern game. The score was 4-3, but I didn't think Man U was really ever in that match. I don't know if you caught any of it, but
I
uh,
watched that one. Yes, I did.
it's going to be hard for them to make it out of the group stages. I feel like if they play the way they did against Bayern, they just weren't very inspiring to me.
Their three goals are very lucky.
Yeah,
The last one was a very much a consolation goal. Second one, I believe. Who was it? Was it Bruno or Ramses?
Uh,
Ramses got the first one. I can't remember who got the second one, but yeah, both of them instantly Bayern responded, and like you said, I think Bayern were kind of
it was
coasting. They have
Hoyland. Oh,
that
Hoyland
team in
got the first, yeah, and then Casemiro
yeah,
got
Hoyland got the
second.
first.
Yeah,
Oh, Casemiro, yes,
yeah.
yes, you're right. Second and third. So they have a that Bayern team has a huge tendency to coast and only play down to the level of the competition. I think that's why Tuchel was brought in because he is very strict and a disciplinarian and wouldn't allow that stuff to happen, and he's still trying to hammer that out. That's what I saw in that game. Uh, anything else on the Champions League? You had a couple other teams you want to talk about.
Yeah, every year is you enter the first match as a Celtic fan, and you're like, oh, maybe this year we can conjure up enough magic to sneak into the knockout stages. I don't think it's going to be happening this year, but they did look acceptable against Feyenoord. They had two red cards, one of which I thought was absolute horseshit, and I think if they can play the same but get a result out of the like get a win out of the reverse fixture against Feyenoord at Celtic Park, and then maybe pick up another point or two at home. They can maybe make it to like Europa knockouts. I don't think like they'll be making it into the Champions League knockouts. And
Are they
I
better
thought,
than Lazio?
um, I don't know. That's a tough one. We'll have
So
to
okay.
see about that. Uh, I also thought Inter showed good fight. It wasn't necessarily the strongest first half, but they did what they had to. And I thought Porto looked really, really strong. I was pretty impressed with their performance away at, I think it was Salzburg.
Porto will come up in our top 10 or best midfields. I think
Yep, I believe so.
they have a really good midfield. So any other team you wanted to touch upon? I thought like I mentioned, I thought most of the results are straightforward. I was very happy for Arsenal win. Contrary to what happened today, we'll talk about that when Brian comes in for the game of the week.
One thing I had written down that I wanted to say was just, like when things slow down towards the end of this European season, like May and April, you start looking at other leagues and like seeing title races, and you're like, oh, like I haven't heard that team really win their league in a long time. I hope they pulled it off. And then you realize the error of your ways when you get to Champions League group stage and you're left with shit like Antwerp.
Yeah.
It's like
Yes,
it's like
and old boys or yeah.
old boys are like they've been there before. That I wasn't like that one's
Oh,
okay.
Red Star Belgrade too. They're like Man City's group is relatively straightforward. Like I can't complain about our group, but for the champions to get handed that group and basically they can rest and they're not haven't dropped a game in Premier League, it's gonna be very tough already. They like well like I keep referencing it, but today's tie versus Tottenham was such a big hammer in our title hopes early on, and like the way Man City beats these teams without abandon. Yeah, it's gonna be tough, but let's move to the midfield segment.
And I
I think
just want to
that's more
correct.
exciting and it'll
It
make me
was
happy.
it
Yeah.
was Shakhtar Donetsk that Porto beat, not Red Bull Salzburg. Like I said initially, I just wanted to clean that up. But
Okay.
yeah,
Great.
they looked solid.
Okay. So our segment is Champions League's best midfields. So in essence, they're trios. You have a sitting defensive midfielder. You have your box to box eight, and then you have the 10 or in a lot of cases, we might have two eights like Arsenal plays, or you might have two sixes and 110. It depends on team to team. But in essence, and a lot of these teams also play with four midfielders. But if you could take your pick of three players in a trio of midfield from a team, that's what we're kind of ranking for this year in the Champions League, what we expect to see. Siebes and I have written down 10 to 15, we think. We're going to rank our top 10 and we're going to alternate. So, for example, I'll go first and then Siebes will get to do his second, and then I'll do third, fourth, fifth, and then we'll go all the way up to 10. But we'll do it in reverse order, so actually be 10, 9, and 8. Any questions, Sebastian?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know
Go
that
ahead.
it's totally in order for me, but I do have a rough idea of like where I'll be ranking these, I suppose.
Yeah, you can make the decision now too, and you
Yeah,
can talk about it. And it'll be a part of the fun. So let's start. We are starting at number 10. Or I think it. Let me take that back. I think it's much easier for both of us if we just go from best to worst for
I agree.
both of our lists. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I agree
So
with that. That's what I was hoping we would do.
okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Duly noted. So you want to go first, or should I?
I'll let
I
you
think we
start
both know
off.
who we're going to take first. Okay. So I think for me, the best midfield three is Bellingham, Jimeni, and Kamavinga.
Oh, not for me.
So I'll take. Okay. So
Yeah.
tell me who do you have first? I mean, I guess you're picking second. So tell me who you're gonna pick next.
I have Barca first. I like Gundogan, De
Which
Jong.
combination of their
Yeah,
guys?
Gundogan, De Jong, and Gavi.
I had them on my list, but I think their other with Gavi out, it's actually that's the midfield three with better potential. So I was going to choose that higher. I had them ranked higher, but so that's Joe. You have FDJ, Pedri, and excuse me, sorry, Gavi and Gundogan.
Hmm.
Very
Yeah,
solid, and they've been playing very well.
that's
Can't
why I
complain with
picked
that
them. The
one.
form is really good.
Yeah, no complaints there. Going next, do you mind writing this down, Sebastian?
Yeah, so
I'll go
you
through.
have you had Madrid with Jude,
Very
um,
nice.
Jude,
Now I have pick
Chouameni,
three.
and who is your third one in your?
Camavinga.
Oh, for sure. Okay,
So
I had
Chimeni
them listed
sitting,
as well.
Bellingham is the 10, and then Camavinga box to box. Yeah. You followed up with Barca,
Yes,
which honestly I don't think no one can complain about that one. They're playing so well.
I think they're like the
And
two
actually, I was
best,
gonna bring
honestly.
that up to you. I was gonna bring that up to you because like they've had a revival, and like somehow they've poached two like world class players for nearly nothing when their salary cap has been slashed and slashed and slashed. They pick up Gundogan and they pick up Cancelo, and somehow I don't understand how that happens. And then they have the emergence of a young wonder kid in uh, Yamal. So like some teams are just lucky. That's all I'll say about that.
People want to play for
Okay,
that
me at
brand. Yeah.
yeah, that's true. That's true. So I'm at three. I put our what I think our best. That's tough. Do I take us or City? No, I think we have the better midfield. What separates us with City is a slightly better coaching philosophy in Holland. So I take Rice, Partey, and Odegaard. I think when we play big teams, that's what we'll do. We'll have a double pivot with those two guys, and then Martin will be free to roam as and like dictate the game as he sees fits without having to worry to cover Saka. So that's what I think ultimately will play. And Arteta has not been showing his hand thus far, as he did with the Gabriel thing as well. So that's I have them at three.
So the only reason I have us very highly listed too, I don't have Partey on it because I'm not sure when he's going to be back. So I was
You
skeptical.
had our original OG Rice, Odegaard, Havertz.
Havertz or Vieira?
Okay, okay,
I had
fair.
Vieira,
But
but Havertz, yeah.
okay,
But
back to
that
you
is
for number four.
all right. So I won't do that. That feels kind of cheap. I'll go with uh go with Bayern's. I like
Yeah,
Musiala, Kimmich, Goretzka, and
very
then
good
like
choice.
I'm a big fan of the Sane Nabry combo up top too, but it's the midfield is Kimmich, Goretzka, Musiala.
Very good, very good. I agree with you. So then I think it makes me easy. Like I was gonna pick them. It arguably they are more accomplished and more polished than our midfield three, and had more time to gel. But I was a little partial to Arsenal on mine, but
I probably would have done what you did too, to be fair.
for sure. So I've been watching a little bit of City to see if they falter, like a little more than I normally would, and I've been very pleasantly surprised with this new, not new, but this Nunez character. He's big, he's quick, and he just is very direct. And when Gundogan left and they brought in Kovacic, I thought, okay, that he'll play well for them, but I don't fear him like the way I would fear Gundogan. But this guy, I could see in a year or two after he settles and gets acclimated to the Pep system, I think he'd be very good. So my midfield three would be Rodri, KDB, and this Nunez, Mateus
Yeah, I could
Nunes.
see that.
Arguably, if you think KDB's past it, you could put Foden in there, but or the thing is, I thought Rodri, KDB, Foden midfield three was just too defensively weak. You're putting too much on Rodri, so that's what I went with Nunes.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. I when I wrote it out, I did have Foden, but I get what you're saying. With what you've chosen with Nunes. Um, I'll next. I guess I'll go with. Let's do Porto, just since we mentioned them earlier.
Good call. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Eustachio, Varela, and then the third is
Who was your
kind
third?
of.
I was curious who the third would be for
I
Porto.
put
Was it Jaime?
Jaime's up. Jaime would probably be second. It depends what formation they play, because sometimes they put Galeno there, and I'm a big fan of his.
Oh
But
yes, yes, you're right. Yeah, okay,
yeah.
okay.
So I had Galeno, but they have a like abundance of options, and it just depends how they play. Like when they played yesterday, it was more what I'm referring to. When they played in their opening match in Champions League, it was Jaime, I believe, or it might have been even Franco. But like they just have so many options that they're able to go to, and it's kind of funny because their league form hasn't been super great. Like they're eking out these matches, and I'm always just like watching it, kind of disappointed. And then all of a sudden they'll score late and they'll win against like a pretty mediocre opposition, and I'm like, I guess like I don't have to be super disappointed with Conceição as of now. But
It's
yeah, I
amazing
mean,
how they ship out and build and develop players. Amazing.
except for my
One of
boy.
the best.
The only
Huh?
reason I've watched Porto for like years on end now is because of Taremi. And every year it's
Okay.
like rumored he's gonna go somewhere else, and then he ends up staying there. And I'm like, I guess I don't mind watching them. The games are at like a reasonable time, and uh, it's it's a underrated league. I like the Portuguese league.
Solid choice. So that was number 5, right?
Yeah,
Yes. So okay, I'm torn between first number 6. I'm torn between two. So I think there's a very strong argument for PSG. They've basically cycled out Verratti and uh, the Pastore era, basically, right? And now we're moving into a new era with Luis Enrique, and they have their midfield three. But then I'm also very partial to Napoli because I feel like their Scudetto winning. They have two of their Scudetto winning players left, right? Zelensky and
yeah,
Lobotka. Lobotka is very good. They Ndembele, Ndembele, I forgot how do you pronounce
Anguissa.
this? No, Ndembele. Sorry,
Oh, okay.
it's a tough name. Yeah, he left. I think I forgot where he went, but uh, they had to replace him. They are very good at doing that. They also lost their center back to Bayern, right? Was a stud, the uh, Korean player. So was it Lee Kim Jin or something? I
Uh,
can't remember. But regardless,
Min
I
Jae
have
Kim.
tremendous. Huh? Lee J
Min
Kim
Jae
is what you
Kim.
said.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, Min Jae
Min
Kim.
J Kim. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, Min J Kim, who bossed that game. Like I think I rate him very highly. He was probably their best defender last year. This year they have, like I mentioned, they have to recycle out some players. They have this Zambo and Nguisa guy. I think I watched catch some of the like highlights. He's a good player, so I have them over the PSG one who's just starting out. I think you might take them next or pretty soon, anyways. So
No, I would agree with you
yeah, I'll take
actually.
Napoli's. Yeah, go ahead.
I would agree with you. Yeah, I definitely think Napoli's is a lot better than PSG's at this moment in time. Uh, I
Hmm.
don't know that
Well,
you.
I
You're
mean, they're starting a 17-year-old.
Yeah, that's why I have a hard time picking PSG right now. Um, it's too unproven for me. I So you picked Napoli.
I picked Napoli.
So I will go with a homer pick and go with Atletico.
Okay, tell me
What
the three.
Llorente, Koke, and Niguez.
Koke still going strong.
He was good. Yeah, he played today.
Who was the third player?
Niguez. Niguez.
Okay, so can't complain. They're playing very well. I'm sure we'll touch upon the Madrid derby.
Yeah.
They won today. Looks like something's cooking in Atletico. We'll see what goes on for
Eh,
the rest of the season.
I
Right?
think Barca's going to win La Liga by a significant margin.
Yeah, they have such a solid and
It's
consistent
really
team.
annoying.
It
I
is.
thought
It is.
Atletico could challenge, and then they got pummeled at Valencia 4-0, I think, and I was just like, all right, that's the season. Like, no
The thing is, like,
serious title contender loses 4-0 at Valencia.
the thing. Oh, maybe not. Yeah, that's true. The thing is, I was reading that like Barcelona can win the league all they want. What they really need to like recover financially is like 2 to 3 years of getting to like the round of eight or something. Is what I read for the EuroLeague payments because that's all considered like straight profit or something along
Hmm.
those lines. So it really helps their books. It's $50 to $60 million payout, I think, right? If you get to that stage of the Champions League.
Believe
Whereas I
so.
don't know if La Liga, I don't think La Liga is paying significantly as much. So while it'll be nice for the fans, it really won't help them as much as just doing well in the Champions League. They should really be focused on the Champions League. I know they are, but probably a big reason why they got uh, João Felix as well. Okay,
Yeah.
so you chose
Atletico.
Atletico, so that puts us at 8.
Yes.
So okay, my last pick. I considered Inter. I considered Dortmund, and I think you'll laugh at me, but I'll go with a very hipster pick. I think it's Newcastle, man.
I had them on my
Longs
list. I think the talent is too good to ignore.
Longstaff, Tonali, and Guimarães basically
Guimar,
sitting.
yeah.
So Longstaff really impresses me whenever I watch them play. Yeah, they've had a really tough start to the season, but they will. I think they will definitely compete for top four, and they might surprise some people in that group with some. I don't think they'll go through, but they might play spoiler. I think for some other teams that might get through. And I really like Tonali. He's like perfect 8 to 10 hybrid. So yeah, I'll pick Newcastle at number 9.
I would have had them higher if that first match wasn't maybe one of the worst matches I've ever watched in my entire life.
Yeah,
And they contributed. It wasn't just because of AC Milan. Like, they were awful to watch too in that match. It was really
AC
ugly.
Milan's progressing a little bit. I think I sense some.
I mean, they got pummeled in the Milan derby last week.
Yes,
It's
yes,
not the
yes.
strongest side that they fielded in a while. Um, so this is my
So
last
finish this
pick.
out. Who's number 10? Yes.
So I'm going to go with Inter just because I like a lot of the players they have, but I do find it hard to pick the correct three because I think there's five. Like, there's Dimarco, there's Mkhitaryan, there's Çalhanoğlu, there's Dumfries, and there's
Foray has
Barella.
to be there. I think.
Yeah, Barella's for sure in there, and I think it would be Dumfries. And then I'm partial
Aslani.
to Aslani's great too. Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. They have like six players to fit into three spots, and they play with five. So like it does get harder to decipher when they do that. But I guess for the purposes of this exercise, I'll go with Barella. He's the obvious one. We'll go with Dumfries, and then I guess recency bias, Dimarco after his winner today, which was an absurd volley. I don't know if you saw it.
No, but
Yeah, it
I
was.
did have something similar. I had Mickey. I just partial to him.
I was going to do him. Yeah, like,
It
but
didn't work well for him at Arsenal, but yeah, I always liked when he played. Like he's very direct, and so I'd Mickey, Barella, and Aslani.
and the one I wanted to highlight, which I don't think either of us will watch very many of their matches, but I just was looking through the list of players, and man, Galatasaray have some names in their midfield. It's kind of funny. Like, they have
Oh,
like Demirbay, Ziyech, Mertens, and then this Ak Turkoglu guy who I've seen highlights of him. He's actually pretty fucking good. So
I
I was
glossed
just
over them, man. To be honest, I just like I
yeah,
don't think they'll
I
be
just
anyone
like
good.
I just was like looking through midfields from match day one and was like, oh, like let's see if there's anyone I'm like
Oh, and our
forgetting about.
boy. Is that what you said? Lucas Torreira?
Yeah, Lucas Torreira's there too. Yeah, I skipped
Yeah.
over his name, but I was laughing at some of the names. Like Demi Bay was pretty solid. Ziyech is solid. Mertens, like these are like guys from a few years ago. Yeah, it's kind of funny.
Yeah. Trying to think, wasn't there Nicolas Zaniolo? Didn't he go to Galatasaray? Is he not playing for them anymore? I didn't see him in the start here.
Um,
I only remember because he had a big falling out with Mourinho,
he's
so
at
that's
Villa
at
now.
Roma, right? Oh my God. Okay. Okay. Good for Villa. Yeah.
Yeah,
I wonder. I'll curious. I'll tune into the next Villa game to see how he plays. He's got a big mouth. That's for sure. Okay. I think we did really well, Steve. So it was pretty straight. Should we recap? So,
sure.
go ahead. You can do it.
So did you write it down as well?
I have it bold. I can go through it if you'd like. Yeah.
I have a few.
Um,
I didn't get all the names because I was doing it by hand.
okay.
If you
Let's go
want to
through it
go,
together. So
yeah,
first, I picked Real Madrid, Bellingham, Tchouaméni, Camavinga. Right.
yeah,
You followed up with Barca with Gundogan, FDJ, and
and
Gavi.
Gavi, yeah,
I followed up with Homer pick Arsenal, Rice Party Odegaard instead of Rice Party Havertz. You went Bayern, Kimmich, Goretzka, Musiala.
yes,
I followed up with City, Rodri, KDB, Nunez. You went Porto,
yeah.
Varela. I don't Eustachio, but I don't know who your third
Eustachio,
was. Who was your third?
Varela, and Galeno.
Galeno. Yes, that's the
Yeah,
big one. Yes, okay. And then I went Napoli, Zelensky, Lobotka, +1, basically
and Guisa,
Zambo.
I think, right? Or
Uh,
is that who you
yes,
said?
yes.
Yeah,
Zambo, yeah, Zambo Anguissa. You followed up with Atletico with Lorente, Koke, and Ninki?
Niguez,
Who
yeah,
was your
Niguez,
Ninguez? Okay,
yeah,
Ninguez. Yes. Okay, then I went
Newcastle, I believe, correct? Yeah,
Newcastle, and then Tonali, Gimaraj, and Longstaff, and then you followed up with Inter, Barella, uh,
Dumfries, and I
Humphreys. Oh, you chose Humphreys. Humphreys.
Dumfries, yeah, yeah. I think he's pretty solid when he plays for them.
Okay.
And I went with DiMarco just based on today, but I don't think you can go wrong. Maybe I should switch out Dumfries for Aslani. I don't know. It's kind of hard. They just have a lot of options.
So
So I guess we'll go final. Barella, Aslani, and DiMarco.
okay, well done. Notable misses. Man U's Casemiro, Bruno +1. Dortmund's Kahn,
They're
Sabitzer, Bryant, Leipzig's Javi Simmons, Forsberg, Schlager. Any other
Leipzig
ones?
is a very good one, and they were probably like next up for me.
Yeah,
For
probably me too.
Dortmund, they definitely should be on the list if they were playing up to the way they should be, but they're playing like shit, so like I don't want to include them right now.
Fair, completely fair.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Same with
it's a
Man
tough
U,
start.
honestly.
They, I even if they were playing well, it'd be tough to put them. It's just that they're very noticeable players, so I thought we should mention them. And a noticeable team that they
Yeah.
didn't make our top 10 midfielders. So it's something to note. Okay, anything else, Steve? We'll bring in Brian. We'll take a break and bring in Brian.
No, I think that's it. Yeah.
All right, that concludes the segment rankings of our best midfields in Champions League. All right, game of the week, North London Derby. It was real. I woke up really excited for this, and it's completely ruined my day. But we have Brian here. Welcome, Brian. How are you?
Doing well. Glad to hop on, and yeah, I was able to catch mostly the second half of the game. I caught a little bit of the end of the first half also, but you know, time to introduce my opinion of what I've seen. I guess.
So
Nice.
you basically saw our demise.
I saw you guys get done in by a Korean guy. That's what I
Who?
saw.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I wish he. There's so many things. He's such a great player, and unfortunately, like destiny has made it that I can never like him.
Why?
First, he's Korean, which is not a problem. I like Korean
Whoa,
people.
Hey,
whoa,
But
whoa, whoa, whoa.
Korean
whoa!
soccer is like Iran's biggest rival. So like I don't root for like in international play, I don't root for Korea unless they're playing against like a European team. Then I'm down because it's like a good look for Asian soccer. But like there's a lot of beef between Iran and Korea soccer historically. And then also he plays for fucking Spurs. Like destiny has just made it so I could never like him.
We hate the Spurs, Brian. Like
Yeah.
they
Yeah, for
are our
sure.
main rivals, and I mentioned like it's as if like Lakers had a reason to hate the Clippers venomously. But we have no reason to hate the Clippers, but in soccer, across town rivals like that means a lot more. So, Steve, do you want to say something? It looks like you have
It's
something on
more
your mind.
like yeah, it's hard to compare. It's very much like USC, UCLA, like more so than Clippers, Lakers, I would say.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Just in regards to the game specifically, did you like Ashwin? How like what about the ending of the game particularly soured your mood? I suppose, or is it just the end result, or was there anything about the play or how the events turned out that make you feel particularly worse than you might be regularly?
There's a lot, but I'll hand it off to Sebastian first. I've like written down a lot of complaints, and I'll blow them off. But Steve can go first.
Um I honestly didn't feel very good about it when I saw the lineup because I don't really like Jesus out wide with Nketiah at the middle, but I realized the options are fairly limited without Martinelli or Trossard.
Trossard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought we were kind of fucked from the get-go, if I'm being honest. But then it went well for like a good portion of the first half. Um, I felt fucking terrible about what was going to happen when Jorginho got subbed on at half. I was pretty much like, we're not going to win this.
A turning point. A turning point for sure.
It's not
Yes.
really his fault. I don't think it was a good tactical decision from Arteta. Um, like, I don't really. I again, if Rice was hurt, the options were limited. But why was that the option? Why don't you go with like fucking I don't even know Emil Smith Rowe earlier or um pretty much anything other than Jorginho. I don't think Jorginho's form is really great, and I don't like the pace he plays at. It felt inappropriate for the match, and it felt like we were going to be always very vulnerable in transition with him out there.
What
So
scenarios does he do well in?
Jorginho.
Yeah.
So it's interesting you asked, Brian. So we got him from Chelsea, which are also like somewhat crosstown rivals, right? The blue team, Chelsea. Uh, he won the big one, the big major tournament, the Champions League with them 3, 4 years back. I think it was 2021. Ironically, with another player on our team, Kai Havertz, who scored the winning goal. And during that year, he got third place in Ballon d'Or because he was widely regarded as one of the best like deep line midfielders. He was critical to their success.
He won Euro 2 with Italy, I believe, like
There you
the
go.
summer
Okay, yeah, yeah.
before. Yeah,
Yeah, so he had like a very high peak, and now he's a little bit past it, but he still has value on a team. And
yeah,
for me, it's very clear what value he has. Is you bring him in when you need to uh, dissect or break down a low block team 60 plus minutes when people are tired. Like you
exactly.
can you can't like I understand Partey's hurt and I understand Rice is hurt, but that's why like okay, I'll bring this. I didn't want to bring.
You're like
I didn't want to bring
agonizing,
this up,
dude.
but like I was
You're
talking to
like
Sebastian.
agonizing.
I was talking about Sebastian, like about how I was looking to buy the new FIFA game, and I did. I purchased it on Friday, and I've been
You had
playing as
told me a little
Arsenal.
bit about it, yeah.
Yeah, so I've been playing as Arsenal, and even me in this virtual game, I'm having difficulties finding enough defenders and like valuable players without like one of our main guys tore his ACL to preseason, so he's not. I mean, even with him playing in the game, who I'm referencing during Timber, right? I'm
Yeah,
still
yeah.
using him, Sebastian, and I still don't have enough defenders to like adequately rotate. I basically only have Kirior and Tomiyasu. Tierney, the arrogance to let Tierney go when we don't have that many defenders, and like I don't know. So like even in a virtual game, I'm having difficulty finding enough defensive cover. I think it was arrogant for Arteta to go into the season not purchasing another one when one of our main guys who figures to like be a central part of our team this season tears his ACL in the preseason. And on top of that, instead of replacing him, you let two defenders go. You let Holding and Tierney go. So we have no cover for Saliba really. Like if you want to put Tomiyasu there, then you can't have any cover for Ben White. So we're kind of fucked in that regard. And then I will concede that Declan and Party both getting injured is a little bit unlucky. But I think instead of what you like, I don't know what he could have done. To be honest, he was like, I don't think he had a choice. I don't think you can play Smith Rowe that low. Yeah, Odegaard
Yeah.
can't really do it, and it's just like a worst case. It was a recipe for disaster because that's the exact team I would not want to play Jorginho versus a team that's like dynamic and switching from defense to attack and kept getting you on the counter. And you saw what happened twice.
Yeah,
Uh,
like I was saying, I don't know what he could have done, but I knew it wasn't a good idea. Like it's one of those like things where you're like, fuck. I guess with Rice's hurt, like we're fucked, like in that situation, you know?
And to the effect of Jorginho, Zinchenko's the same way. He's amazing in versus low blocks because he inverts, and we know we're going to have to spend 90% of the game on the opponent's side of the field, so him running back doesn't really matter. But in these very open games, he gets torn to shreds because he's playing so far up. It's like a matter of distance. You can't make up that much distance against these top level players. So him too, like this would be a game for a Tomiyasu at left back, or even if Tierney was here, Tierney at left back, or Timber at left back, so that you can stop the transitional play, which Sinchenko kind of struggles at. The last thing I mentioned it earlier, but the Ramsdale omission was harsh. I thought like I was really expecting him to play. I think Rye is much better, and I see the writing on the wall. But I think you got to give him like a little bit more leeway, as he did really well last year. And one more thing is that Jesus on the wing was, like Sebastian mentioned, was not ever the play. I think you play Reece Nelson. I
Hmm.
think you play Smith Rowe on left. Like this also to me means that Smith Rowe is probably not in his plans either because if he has a prime opportunity, he's been recovering for about 6 to 8 months on the first team, and you have a prime opportunity to play him in his preferred position or the position you see him in the future, and you don't play him there. You play your center forward, your star center forward, out of position instead of playing him. So that wasn't a good look for me too. It could be arrogance by Arteta again with his tactics, but it could also mean the end of Smith Rowe coming soon. So we don't know. He was linked to Brighton. He was linked to other teams for 40 million this offseason already. Uh, Actually, I'll say one more thing on Tottenham. Very well played. They consistently broke down our press and shifted just like that into attacking us. And my player of the match for them was Basuma. Again, that's twice or three times that Basuma has just dominated the midfield in a way that he dominated Jorginho. So, what were your thoughts on Tottenham specifically?
I thought man of the match was Madison. He was pretty immense.
Hmm.
All over was pretty tremendous. I feel like he was the difference maker. Um, it was they played well. Like I was impressed. It's uncomfortable for me seeing Big Ange over there. Like I've said numerous times, but this especially was uncomfortable because it's like, oh, normal. You were always on my side. Why are you doing this to me? um, like I just thought Arsenal made it way too easy for them. They were really careless with possession in the second half. Like at one point, I just like screamed at my TV, "Stop giving the fucking ball away!" Like verbatim, and it was like
Yep.
early as shit in the
Yep.
morning, and I still yelled this because I was pretty fucking angry. Um, there was about like a 10-minute stretch where it definitely looked like if anybody was going to go on to get a winner, it was going to be them. I actually the draw is a bad result for Arsenal heading into the match, but after leaving it, I feel like it's the fair result. And honestly, if there was going to be a winner, it felt like eventually it was going to come from them, not from us. So I kind of left a bit relieved, but that's like a cowardly way of looking at it, I suppose. But yeah, just to me, they probably had like a B plus performance, and I'd say Arsenal was like a B minus C plus, and that's probably being kind of kind. Like it was not a good
That's very kind in
performance.
my opinion.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
C minus even. But
Yeah,
I
that's what I was saying. Yeah.
I don't know if the injuries are going to mount like this, and we're still far away from the winter transfer window. I don't think this is like a title winning season. It's
Yeah, it's tough.
probably a top 4 season, and I don't even know it's top 4. I don't think it's 2 because Liverpool look really fucking good,
They
and
do.
so yeah,
Uh, so I'll say these couple points, and I'll hand it off to Brian for the last word. So there's been talk about this Walters young kid, Royal
yeah.
Walters. He needs to be brought up ASAP because he's basically like a Ben White type, someone who can play the right back and center back. And there is whispers that the reason why Arteta didn't buy someone was because he really thought if needed he could play. And so I think we need to start bringing him along. I would be disappointed if he didn't get any time in the Carabao Cup game coming up.
You should
We have
start.
City coming up next too. Yeah, we
Who
have City
cares about
coming up
that shit?
next too. It's a must win. So basically, this tie made that game must win, and we don't know if Partey is going to be there. We don't know if Saka is going to be there. We don't know if uh, Rice is going to be there. So we're kind of fucked. We know that Rodri's not going to be there because of his red card. KDB's out. So yes, they're dealing with things, but it's going to be a very competitive game, and we need to win that game. And lastly, to finish the point you were mentioning, Sebastian, like the rational fan, after the anger and like hate subsided, and a rational fan came back to me, came back as a rational fan with no party and an injured Rice against Tottenham in a derby. To get a draw is not the worst in the world. So if we didn't have Partey and Rice, we'd basically be like all those Wenger teams over the years, in late 2010s, who didn't play with a defensive midfielder and raw offense. And these are the exact type of results that happened in that era. So it's not surprising to me. Brian, anything?
Yeah, I mean, I just actually had a question. Like in the situation where, um, with the first goal where it went off the guy,
Mhm.
um, like how do I explain this? Like, how is that generally like perceived from the offensive perspective of Arsenal? Like, is that considered like successful offense, or did that seem like a fluke or something like that? I'm just trying to understand more because as I was kind of watching that, I didn't. I like obviously it's a goal. I understand that, but like from the perspective of like, is this successful offense? How would that be viewed just in terms of soccer in general?
Go
Due
ahead,
to the
Steves. You can answer. And
I'd
I'll take
say
a swing.
yeah, it's successful because if you look behind the defender, if he didn't stick his leg out like that, there were going to be 2 people at the end of the ball. So it was going to
okay,
likely be a pass to a goal. I enjoyed the commentary talking about. I just find it fascinating. They have to look at the angles basically to like a scientific degree to determine if that ball was actually on flight to the goal itself. Because if it was, it's not considered an own goal. It's considered Saka's goal, but they determined it was an own goal, I believe, because it
for
was
sure.
like
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
go marginally
I
wide.
think it was. Yeah,
So
for sure.
it's pretty interesting that aspect of it. But I mean, Ashwin, what do you think on this?
To answer your question very simply, any way it goes in, Brian, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
basically, yeah.
For sure, for sure. No, but overall, I guess like end thoughts. Like again, I'm watching it again from more of a little bit of a kind of outsider's perspective, but it was pretty exciting. Honestly, like unfortunately, it didn't quite go your guys' way, but some of the attacks on goal with what was his name, the Korean guy,
Son,
Son, was pretty impressive. I have to say, like not
he
to
was clinical.
yeah, yeah, not to like throw dirt on your guys' parade, but pretty exciting. And I mean, it was a long extra time. I actually have another question also. Um, and excuse me for like the ignorance, but why weren't there any extra kicks in this one?
It's a like
Like
Penalties.
penalties.
yeah, it's a
Yes.
league match, so you just go to draw. Like it's not a tournament
Oh,
or
okay,
like a
okay.
knockout stage
That's only for
tournament.
like championships or something.
Yeah,
So in
basically.
like bracket type situations, yeah, you would take the penalties. But in a league, a draw is just considered 1 point, and a win is considered 3. So
Right.
you
For
kind of get
sure.
you get some value out of it. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, but that's pretty much for me. Just a couple questions, just some clarifying. But overall, I actually enjoyed watching the end of it quite a bit.
One
Um,
of the better spectacles in Premier League for sure. Yeah.
yeah, Ashwin, how did you feel when Richarlison got subbed on for Sun? Because I actually was gonna say I forgot to mention that actually like made me feel slightly relieved after that. I was like, I know
I
Richarlison's not going to score. I
I disagree completely. Like, I just feels like whenever I watch Richarlison play, he's terrible. But somehow, some way, in these games, they just end up scoring. Versus, I felt the same way against about Son last year. I thought he was super washed up, but even when he plays against us, like maybe it's just because there was a very like they did a lot of things going on. They had Kane leaving. They had a coach acting like a petulant child. So that there was a lot of things going on. So in one way, I should have seen Son coming back, but I don't know.
see. I really like, despite what I said when we kicked off, I really do like Sun a lot. Like I respect him immensely. Um, so to me, it seemed like he was going to be the only one who had the touch to actually finish for them, and I felt it was a weird decision from Ange actually, but I mean, to me, it felt like at that point he was okay with a point, which he should have
He's
been. But yeah,
he's a better presser.
Richarlison,
Yeah.
yeah, but he's also not very good right now. That's like the bottom line. I mean, he doesn't do his job, the ultimate job, very well. He pisses away so much.
If it's what you said and it was about sealing the point, if you play a long ball and you could get up to him, I'd rather have Richarlison try to get that ball in the air as opposed to Son. That's
That's fair.
one reason. Maybe I don't know. Okay, thanks guys for doing this. Well, Steve's wanted to talk about the Madrid derby. So full disclosure, I haven't seen it. It's on my plate. So I'll just
uh,
let you kind of take the floor. And you had some strong feelings about it. So let us know what happened.
I wish you had watched it. That's one thing I'll say. But I thought for the most part it was probably one of Atletico's best performances recently. But Real Madrid's defense was pretty atrocious, especially on the first two goals. They just like let Morata get into wide open space in the box and get like a clean header. And even like Griezmann's second goal was pretty easy. Uh just kind of feel like Real Madrid didn't bring the intensity needed for one of the bigger rivalry matches in Spain. And I just have to say it's a great feeling because I find Real Madrid fans to probably be the most toxic fans in the entire soccer world. Um, they were all bragging about, oh, Bellingham's celebration when he scores his first Madrid derby goal is going to be so sweet. And it didn't fucking happen, buddy. So fuck all of you. That's basically I was
Jesus.
pretty ecstatic. And Bellingham he's a very talented player, but I just think he's a very unlikable kid. Um, he had this one of the dirtiest uh, tackles I've seen in a very long time late in the match when the match was already decided, and then tried to fight people basically or get in people's face after he did it. And it was like, no, you were the prick there. Like, of course everybody's
He
going to
does
be
that
offended. Yeah,
for sure.
I don't
He does
like
it.
the guy. He made it personal when he said Scottish people booing the English national anthem riled him up for that match. So yeah, no, Jude Bellingham and I are like with Son. I actually do respect him. Bellingham, no, he's a player, great player, but as a person, no, fuck him. I'll say this: grow up, Jude.
Damn, dude, taking a stance, dude.
Yeah, grow
So
up, Jude. I know Ashwin
Solid
likes him
win.
too. That's why I'm going it a little
I
bit
know
extra.
because I told Stevenson like a year ago that the first player I bought in every FIFA campaign from last year was Jude Bellingham because he was just like a FIFA cheat code. But
Yeah, he's a
I don't think I
tremendous
was alone in
player.
that. Yeah. No, and he went. The fact that he went to Real Madrid was like good for me. But I mentioned it to you at the beginning of like our soccer discussions. This is a down year for Real Madrid. I
Yeah,
don't expect them to do that well. They can't win with Vinny out, with Rodrigo and Jose Luis are starting to, and they haven't navigated the Modric Cruz transition yet. And basically every like I've 3 or 4 of the goals I've seen them concede have been directly related to Cruz not being able to get back in position. And so he yeah, he can play, but his hesitancy to play the 10 or an advanced playmaking position and let other people defend for him is starting to become a problem. It wasn't really like there was little glimmers last year, but this is the first year it's like truly become apparent. Modric just either he concedes or he's just is starting late or will pick it up throughout the season. He just isn't been really that effective in general. So I don't see much for Madrid. I like Sebastian mentioned Barca figures to win La Liga. I don't see them making that much noise in Champions League. Who knows though? It's real. It's tough to say. Steve, you wanted to say so? I don't see anything else in Premier League, but you wanted to say something on Liverpool.
I just said earlier they look really great. They kind of seem like they're back to the form they were in 2 years ago, or getting there at least. Versus last year when it felt like it was a transition year. They were getting older, and they just didn't
It's
look very good last year with the Milner, Firmino kind of on his way out situation.
it's amazing what young central midfielders will do for a team instead
Yep.
of running out a bunch of washed up people.
Hey, Milner's still out there though. Who's he playing for right now?
I think like
Is he on
Brighton,
Brighton? Yeah, he's playing for Brighton, and they're
or Brentford
doing
or
pretty
something
well.
like that. But I mean, Thiago was amazing player, but he's just so injury hamstrung that like it's degraded his body. Henderson, I never know why they continued to play him, and obviously Fabinho was like way past it. So they needed to revamp their midfield. What's scary for me is I don't think it'll be this year for like Steve's mentions. I don't see them really contending, or I still think we'll get second. Uh, but what scares me is that when they actually get that central midfielder, like number 5 true pivot type situation, a true central defensive mid that they missed out on with Caicedo and Lavia to some degree, then they'll truly unlock that midfield. And then also what I expect is they'll probably get a lot of money for Mo Salah from Saudi Arabia very soon. It was already whispered this off season, and I figure it's probably Klopp convinced him for one more year that he's going to take the payday. He's getting up
It
in age too.
might happen in winter, honestly. It
Yeah,
feels like it's yeah.
totally
He
true.
doesn't
Yeah,
really want to, I don't think yet though. But he'll be so fucking popular there. Like it would be pretty funny.
and probably get a 2 to 3 times pay bump,
Oh
if
yeah.
not more. So for an older player who's small and probably has 3 to 4 years left to get for those 3 to 4 years left, instead of getting 14 million, you're getting 80 million for 90 million. It's significantly different, I think. Yeah. Okay, that's it for soccer. Let's take a break. I'll come back with our minority wins in Hollywood segment. All right, we're back. So I pitched this segment to the guys earlier in the week. So when we look at mainstream Hollywood, I think a lot of people have complained about the lack of diversity and minority representation. To that point, I was curious, like going back, when has India penetrated the mainstream culture? And I
Dude, I
mentioned,
feel like a lot, man.
Yeah, I feel like this was just a big segment to honestly
I
up Indian
maybe
culture.
to me, it's probably like African American culture at the top, Now Asian culture has probably gone a little bit underneath, right? With the everything all at once, Crazy Rich Asians. No,
It's
I
not
guess
my
it's too
question to
strong,
answer.
too broad of a brush to say. Like, I asked Brian if there's any Vietnamese actors or actresses in Crazy Rich Asians, right? So he said no.
Yeah, that there was not, but I was able to get some wins
But yeah, we
for.
talked about it in person, and you actually pulled out of your ass like bigger wins than anything I had. So
No way, dude.
I
I feel like Slumdog Millionaire was. So are we like naming our list, or are we just talking about it?
well, we can name our list. So
Okay, okay. You can start. You can start.
I shouldn't I go last because you
Ju-
guys seem to be very spicy and
no,
want to
no.
talk
So
about.
I want you to set the standard to show the great involvement of Indian culture in mainstream Hollywood, and then just see the massive drop off until.
Yeah, to me, this whole segment was propaganda. I have to be honest.
Oh, boy, I'm genuinely surprised that you guys couldn't find anything,
I was able to
especially
find
you,
some stuff.
Sebastian.
There's things
Iranian culture.
in there's definitely actors, but I will get to what I have to say after you go through your
Okay, okay.
propagandization.
The pro India segment, is that what you're just trying to say?
Yes.
Yeah, look at my culture, ha ha ha. Type. Okay.
Essentially, yes.
So can I start with the honorable mention?
Sure. Is it like a straight up? Is it a straight up top five list? I kind of have like some general points to
I
hit, and
I
then
uh, I'll I'll bring five. I have like 10 or 11, but I don't think some of them really qualify. So, and I was really reaching for those. So I'll try to do the five major ones. Okay. My honorable mention for kicks and giggles, and maybe you guys remember this, but do you remember the Kerpal? You kick my dog.
Oh
I do
god, you
not.
actually included that. That's not really a win, man.
I was really going deep, and I found it. I started cracking up when I heard it. A good throwback to what's the word? Easier times and happier times, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, honorable mention is you kick my dog, Kerbal. But number five was where I was really getting into was Russell Peters and his whole thing with the somebody gonna get hurt real bad type thing, and then the Chinese mall skit where the Chinese person and the Indian person are haggling, and they just can't seem to agree. And I think that's where the be a man, you know, be a man, do the right thing came from.
Oh
So
yeah, for sure.
Is it? Yeah, it might actually be. You might be right.
Yeah, I do. I do think it is.
okay, so that's my number five. Number four, I would say, uh, Bend It Like Beckham. If you guys recall, Keira Knightley,
Good movie.
some other people.
It's a great
Very
movie.
when like I probably watched that in the back seat of the Honda Odyssey van coming back from like Indian parties a lot, like maybe 5 or 10 times. Because if you the the van my parents had one of those like DVD players in the back that
I
with the
remember
screen.
those.
Yeah, so I watched a lot of that. Um, three, I have. This is tough for me. Okay, I'll do three is Priyanka Chopra making the transition over. People in India are really hype on that, and then the fact that she married a Jonas brother and like is now kind of part of the Hollywood tabloid situation. I think people would consider that a small win
How
for
famous was
Hollywood.
she
Why? You
in
just don't like
India?
Priyanka Chopra?
How famous was she in India pre
She
coming
was
to
definitely like
America?
a top 5 or 10 actress
Yeah.
during her heyday.
Can you give like a, let's say, a fame equivalent to just like a USA star?
Like somewhat of a like
Charlize Theron.
pretty like a very attractive like bombshell
Catherine
diva type.
Zeta-Jones.
Yeah, back then, Catherine
Okay,
Yeah.
Zeta-Jones. Like I can't think of a
all
good
right,
one right now. Um,
not bad. I feel like Catherine Zeta-Jones isn't that big, but she kind of has
She
fallen
was
off the
though.
map. Yeah, she was. She was.
she
She
was
was.
for
Yeah.
sure. Like
She
back,
was very
that's
big.
that's
Yes,
actually
yes.
a pretty good comparison, Steve's.
I remember
So
when
Priyanka,
I remember like the whole situation when it was happening.
What situation?
like when she was making his transition and how it was being explained to me who she was.
Started dating a Jonas brother.
I don't
I feel
know.
like
I
she
wouldn't
just
call that
really
a
wanted
win.
to make it. Yeah,
You
I
think
wouldn't
so? You
either.
think this is some
Yeah, I
kind
wouldn't
of
either, especially after what we heard about the Sophie Turner stuff, right?
Well, that was another one. We shouldn't lump all brothers as being the same type of toxic, I
All right,
suppose.
can I do a sell right now or a bust? A big
Okay,
bust is
save it for this
damn, dude, mixing
a
segments,
side
dude.
bust.
A side
a side bust. Yeah, a side bust. Side
All right,
bust.
you can do a side bust.
I think the Jonas Brothers are such dweebs and like very
Yes.
pathetic. Like
Yes, I think
fine for
everybody
any
does.
like literally
A big sell is just the
any
Jonas
scrap of
Brothers.
fame. They'll do any show. They'll like be any spot. Like they were doing like combo. Like they made a song with like BTS. Or some BTS K-pop men K-pop equivalent, and I just when I heard it, I was like, my first reaction is they'll do anything to stay relevant. That's how I equate the Jonas
I don't
Brothers.
pay much attention to them at all, essentially. So I don't even know enough to have any feeling towards them. Do you know
Trying
what
to
I mean?
think, like I feel like they will do like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, or like
Yeah,
or some cooking show, like anything, and they can
That's
get their
fine, dude.
face on, they'll do
They're
it.
just trying to get some
Dude, they're
airtime,
like
man.
they're I don't know, they're Disney stars, they're has-beens. Like just move on, take the money and run. That's what I'll say.
But the thing is that if they are to have a concert, they will massively sell out and go
Do you
crazy.
think
So
so?
they
will
definitely
they
do.
still?
They
Will they? I don't
definitely
think so
do.
anymore, man. I
I
don't
think
know.
they do,
It's
man. I think they
true.
do. I think a lot of fans who are into
Our
the
age.
whole I honestly that are into like the heartthrob aspect of it. I'm pretty sure they sell out their shows and
Wouldn't
stuff.
they be like
I was
our age?
I was gonna say
Yeah.
10 plus, like 40
Kind of
year
sad,
olds,
man.
like just kind of I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
40-year-olds at Newport Beach going for a concert. And this
I don't think 40-year-olds, man. I'm pretty sure like I mean I could just
Jonas is at
like
the beach.
I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure
Jonas is at the beach at the
I'm pretty
pavilion.
sure my
Yeah,
sister
exactly.
has paid a pretty nice chunk
I'm
of
not gonna
change
say
to
anything, man.
go.
But yeah.
Sure, it was good fun.
Okay, let me finish my list so we can get to yours. So
Yeah.
my next one is Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Big parts in India. So while I will say there was there's a scene where I rewatched it today where Indiana is like girl like walking through a Indian village, and literally everyone just starts swarming them and starts touching them, and I think it's a pretty accurate depiction about what happened to white people in the Indian village today too. Even now, I think there's like TikToks and Vines of like foreign girls on Goa's beach or like these Indian beaches, and there's just like tons of people around them staring at them, and that's very accurate because you can see it in the movie. So, but what didn't really fly for me was the human sacrifice scenes. I think Spielberg got a little confused and thought we were Aztecs, but like they're
I
literally
think it was
pulling out
just
people's hearts.
kind of racist.
Yeah, I think so, a little bit.
These are wins.
No, the fact that we got such a major part of a big movie in a
Fair.
franchise—that's the win. But it came with the caveat that we had a director completely like misportray our culture in a very strong way. And then number one, I don't think there was any really dispute. Jai Ho, Slumdog vibe, and what it meant for those two actors and actresses. Like I recently watched The Green Knight with Dev Patel, and then I think Frida Pinto got into a lot of movies after Slumdog. You guys were talking about it. There was a song people were listening to. I think that's probably as deep as we've gotten. So those are my five.
All right. Not bad. I feel as though what you
feel we've-
are neglecting, Ashwin, is
Tell me, Brian.
no,
Anxious to
I
hear.
feel like there's a lot of like just famous Indian people. What's her name? The Office girl.
Mindy Kaling.
That's
Oh
not
yes,
Yeah,
you're right.
you know.
That's a big
Well,
L.
You're right.
but do you know
not
what I
dead.
mean? I feel like there's a lot of
He's right.
I don't know.
He's right, Seeps. She would probably be the most
brother-
culturally relevant.
Her
with
brother
with
was
her
a
two
big
shows.
win.
Huh?
Her brother
No,
had some huge wins
yes.
in his life.
Yeah, No, the book was amazing, amazing concept, but I think Brian was right. I thought about it when I was making the list, and I just don't really like her what she like tries to
Right,
do.
right.
But you're
Yeah,
right.
that's why.
People like I don't know, or like I barely know will talk about that show just because like Indian people I know will talk about that show just because it's her. So it's gotten like pretty culturally relevant, I think. So
And I feel also that there are others like her, obviously on a much smaller scale. I don't know their
M Night
names.
Shyamalan.
No, no, no.
He's way better than
Uh,
anybody you named.
yeah, yeah. I'm not sure what's sick. No, but
That's
like
true. That was a big miss.
what's the like the YouTube stars that are Indian and they become very famous? Like, do you know what I'm talking about? Uh Let me look it up. 1 second.
While you look it up, Siebes, give us yours or the ones you thought.
I think we define wins fundamentally differently. I will say this because there's a lot of Iranian representation in Hollywood, but I would define very little of them as wins. Iranians are often portrayed as like the villains in a lot of movies, which I understand from the perspective of filmmakers in this country. That may be the more compelling tale to tell, or like at least that's what Americans will eat up easier. But I guess if I were to like pick three that were wins, I'd say like Maz Jobrani's career is kind of a win. He seems like a solid dude. Um, kind of funny, has had decent success. Um, so he'd probably be number one. Then like the Iron Sheik is probably one of our biggest wins. And even though he's kind of like a clown and a character, oh, rest in peace, God, I shouldn't be saying this, but yeah, rest in peace to the legend before I say this. But even though he was like kind of perceived as like a clown and like a ridiculous character, I've actually heard like when you met him in English, he spoke like ridiculously, but when you spoke to him in Farsi, like he actually was just like a normal dude, like a very nice normal guy. And then the third one is like a minor thing. It would be like that side plot in the movie Crash with the dad who like shoots at the very end, tries to shoot the gun, and it's end up being filled with blanks, so he doesn't kill the Mexican dude holding his child. That guy's a pretty good actor. I think his name's Sean too. And like he's okay. But yeah, often I feel the portrayals are very condescending, like that trash ass show, Chad, with that woman who portrayed like a teenage Iranian boy living in Beverly Hills. Thought that was like pretty disgusting.
I've never even heard that.
They
Same, but
advertised it like incessantly during one of the
Chad?
yeah, it was called Chad, I believe. They advertised it incessantly during one of the final or the NCAA tournaments like one year a few years ago, and I basically wanted to like throw my remote at the TV every time the ad came on because she was just like playing this like very meek, wimpy ass, spoiled Beverly Hills Iranian kid. And I think thankfully it got canceled, but yeah, fuck that lady and fuck her show.
Jesus.
I don't appreciate like I don't like
I'll have to look it up.
when people caricature their own culture for like mainstream approval. I feel it's very cringy. I feel like it's not like you should be proud and not do stupid shit like this.
Quite low ratings on IMDb, but quite high ratings on Rotten Tomatoes. So
Rotten Tomatoes
I
can
feel
kiss my ass.
yeah. Is
But
that
yeah,
your
that's my
list?
point. Yeah, my list was three, and I pulled two of them out of my ass because I
Okay.
truthfully don't
you
think
should have
there's
gone
many.
with Scottish. You would have won easily.
There was the point wasn't to win; it was to illuminate a problem.
Fair. No, your point is very well taken. Like, yeah, these are not really great representations of our culture, but we just take them because they're so few and far between, right?
I don't
They-
like Argo.
yeah.
Argo is a bullshit thing. Like I'm not going to portray that as a win.
Okay, fair.
Yeah,
Okay.
like that type of thing.
I I could start my list. And before I launch in, I was talking about Lily Singh. Ashwin, do you remember her?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. She was, so these are plenty of representation.
I don't
she
consider YouTubers Hollywood though.
she
That's
kind of
fair.
wanted to be something else too.
She tried to. She tried to break into like Hollywood and like talk shows. And I remember her talk show was
I didn't really
just
like her, so
very, very bad, and it got terrible reception. So I believe it got canceled.
just yeah, it happens.
I think one of her segments on that show was her just having an Indian accent and like criticizing people.
Oh my god.
So,
She didn't deserve it then. Honestly.
See, that's what
yeah,
I'm
people
trying
are
to
like,
say.
"Dude, this is bad. This is bad." People are like, "This is
No,
bad. This is bad."
be
So,
authentic. Like, never caricature your own culture for like. I'm not gonna
That's
say what
why
I want to
yeah.
say, but yeah.
I had Aziz's Asnari getting cancelled as a win for us, but well, it
Is
could have
it?
been an honorable mention. Yeah, it could have.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Brian, go.
That's a
I'll
whole other
start.
segment, man.
So
Yeah.
I struggled pretty hard to get some wins here, but I guess at number 5, it's a bunch of L's combined. That it eventually combines into one win. It's just like every movie about the Vietnam War. It's just like,
Oh.
and you combine. It's really bad. No, that's what I'm saying. They're fat L's. They're
No win
fat
at all.
L's. They're fat L's. They're fat L's, and that all of them combined and become
It's
one
amazing.
win that they show up that we show up into mainstream media. At number 4, I have I don't know if you guys ever remember this, and again, I had to dig deep for some of these. There was the show like one of the first seasons of like America's Best Comedian or something like that. This
Oh,
was
I know what you're
long
talking
time ago.
about.
And then there was one guy that got to the finals named Dat Fan,
I
and
do
he was
remember.
just and he was just this Vietnamese guy from like Westminster, but I think he got to the finals or he won. I don't know. He got very far into the
He
show.
was very funny.
He was very funny, but to speak to your point, he did do a little bit of the caricature of, I guess, in a more acceptable time to caricature
Yeah.
your race as an Asian man, but he was doing that a lot. Another one was Maggie Q. I don't know if you guys know who she is. She's like a model and she's an actress. She was
I
in a
do
couple
know.
of the Mission Impossible movies. She
Yes.
is Vietnamese.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she's Vietnamese or half Vietnamese, and so that is a win. And then number 2, I have Olivia Munn, just because she's kind of well known. She was married to Aaron Rodgers for a while.
Yeah.
She was
Not a
on
big win. Wasn't a
she
big
was
win.
on
Probably hated every moment of it, honestly.
she was on
Yeah.
Attack of the Show. I mean, she came from like Attack of the Show, which was like a gamer show a long time ago. And then at number 1, I have Hui Kwan, who he's the guy from Goonies, who was also in Everything Everywhere All at Once, and he won a Oscar, I believe,
Yeah, I
or
think
Golden
so.
Globe. I think he won multiple awards
Big win. Yeah.
for supporting actor in a movie, and he's Vietnamese, so that's an actual big win. The other ones I kind of had to dig for, and are
I'll add one more.
a little loosey goosey.
I'll add one
But
more too.
oh
Iranian
yeah,
Not for Vietnamese.
Oh,
I'll add one for Iranian.
I was gonna add William Hung.
He's
From
not
American Idol.
Vietnamese,
He's not
bro.
Vietnamese.
Unfortunately, he's not
Yo,
Vietnamese,
dude.
dude. But I just saw
Outta
the
here.
I
Yeah,
just saw
I'm
the face
adding-
and it just made me crack up.
I'm adding Amiri jeans as a win for Iranians because
Okay.
Amiri's got mentioned on like rap songs for years now, and
Yeah.
Mike
Nice.
Amiri is actually like of Iranian
Yeah,
origin.
yeah.
And that might be the biggest win, honestly.
Many rap songs, dude. Are you kidding?
Yeah,
Like
man,
so
good
many.
for Amiri. Every time I hear Amiri, I smile. I'm like, yes, we made it. Our jeans are
So-
excellent.
Oh well, I was the one who, like, you guys thought I was rigging this segment for myself. I actually think Brian wins.
I do
No
too.
actually has a
way,
legitimate win.
dude.
You win because of
Really?
the first number 5 was so shit that it was hilarious.
Yeah, that was hilarious too. Yeah, so there you go.
Dude, it's that at least we're getting some
Forrest
FaceTime is what
Gump,
I'm
bro.
saying.
Yeah,
Like just trying to we're just trying to get some FaceTime out here, man. But I guess if it ends with some Oscars and some Golden Globes, it's not the worst thing.
for sure, for sure. All
But
right,
also,
thank
your
you for
peak is the
indulging me.
highest, I think.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
why. Like it wasn't that deep, but I feel like you're right. Indians probably have the most because it's like a very novel culture to draw from. But your peak was higher, Brian. Therefore, you win.
Okay. I would still revisit this because I feel like I was telling Ashwin earlier when we were just talking about it. They have like Hassan Minaj, dude. He's a pretty big guy in the mainstream
Oh yeah,
media.
don't we have like Kamala Harris too? the
Yeah, Kamala
the mainstream,
Harris.
I guess. That's not
I got.
Hollywood. Yeah,
I was
Didn't
gonna. So
Hassan
if it
Minaj get? Isn't Hassan Minaj a huge
or
fraud?
Cal Penn. Yeah, Cal Penn.
he was what?
Fraud? Like, didn't this just get exposed?
Oh no, what happened? Oh God, no, what
I
happened?
think that
Brian
like
did not know, for the record. Yes.
the whole basis of most of his act was all fraudulent. Like most of the stories he told were not true. Like the story about the
Eh,
informant in his mosque was not true. That never happened. And like the
uh,
anthrax story never happened.
I mean, I don't really know all these stories. I
I
know the
didn't
first
really either.
story. I don't
But
know
there's
about
an
this.
article by the New Yorker that like
That's not good.
and I think he even copped to it, and it's all like, yeah, I was exaggerating. There's like emotional trauma that I'm like expounding upon, but those stories didn't actually happen. That was like something he said.
Oh wow, I did not know about this. I need to look it
Yeah,
up.
so probably not the best. Probably the best idea was not to include him. And when you talked
Fair
about
enough.
Aziz getting canceled, I actually mixed it up, and I thought you were talking about Hassan initially, because to me
no,
that is a whole other segment. Because it was a wild ass story.
all right.
Aziz?
Go
No,
ahead. Just give us a
Hassan.
little like.
Oh.
Okay, well, give us
Yeah.
like a 20 seconds trailer. What did he do?
The
He just said it. It
article's
was basically that
titled,
like
yeah, Hassan Minaj's emotional truths, which basically like he was using his emotional truth as growing up as like an Indian Muslim to basically make up like wild
Oh, I see.
lavish stories as part of his act,
Okay.
which I guess is
Oh.
like somewhat comedy, but the way he did it was more so to like create validity, and it's not a great look, honestly.
I'll have to look deeper in it.
It's a wild story.
Thank you for indulging me on this, guys. Well, like Brian said, maybe in the next year or two we'll be able to revisit, and there'll be 10 Iranian things to be proud about
I hope
Sebastian,
not.
and
I don't want.
10
I don't want. I don't want it. Like
I actually I was telling you guys like there's this show, The Sympathizer, coming out based off of a book, based off of a Vietnamese spy. If we revisit this in a year, I think there will be a lot more Vietnamese things because
nice. Okay.
I
very
anticipate that's going to be a shooting up point of Vietnamese
the Viet
culture and
boom.
mainstream media.
good.
Pretty much, pretty much.
I don't know
Everybody's
about that
gonna
one, Steves.
they're gonna be
Yeah,
eating
maybe.
fun in Alabama, dude.
I think they probably already are.
Yeah, just like-
I know, like it's big in like Louisiana.
yeah. Oh yeah. Well, yes. There's a big Vietnamese population in
Yeah.
Louisiana.
All right. We'll come back with top 5, Bool or Bust, and Soccer Bleak. All right, before we get started on top 5 and Bool or Bust, I think there's something that needs to be addressed. Last week, I believe I sold Chobani flips, and I've been told by one of our avid listeners, Dr. Andrew Kaw,
He's a doctor.
he's a doctor. He drove while he was driving. He felt the need to call me to tell me I was doing the Chobani flips incorrectly, and that you can naturally just flip them together, and all the toppings will go into the yogurt, and I didn't need to use a
Whoa.
spoon at all. So
Whoa.
big
I didn't know this
misfire.
either.
Yeah, okay, then maybe that makes me feel better. Because I thought when you said you're going to give me a demo, that's what you were going to do. You're going to flip it over and I would look like an idiot. But if you didn't know as well, that makes me feel a little bit better. But I think it needed to be addressed. That was a big miss by me. So -1 for Schwinn on the Bool or Bust.
Well, there's
But,
a reason there's doctors in our society.
Yeah. I needed to visit my psychiatrist, and he just led me the right way. You know. Okay. So top 5 this week was Sebastian, and you can go ahead and explain it.
I just decided to do a fairly simple one. Top 5 favorite rappers. Not your best, like who you think are the best rappers of all time, but who your 5 favorite of all time are. To me, there's a clear difference.
Still very difficult. I feel like
Yeah,
there's a lot
very
of
tough.
overlap in those
It was hard.
in
I
those
agree it was hard.
in those lists.
And there's like ambiguity to some of it, I would say.
Who should go first?
Yeah, tell us who's going first, Steve.
Ashwin, you go first.
Okay, I'm deciding on number 5. 4 through 1 are pretty solid for me, but I think 5 could go a couple different ways. Okay, I'll go with number 5. I'll go with Snoop Dogg.
For shizzle.
Just classic, all time, like through my life. He was like always like cool music to listen to, and then he's kind of morphed into this like very big character who just smokes a lot of weed but is very chill and happy-go-lucky. So Snoop Dogg. Number 4, Kanye. I mean, see, Brian and I were listening to some music yesterday. Kanye came up and we were talking about it. Like, yeah, old Kanye cannot be beat. Just hits a different type of way, both because of when it came out for us, like our time period in our life, but also just the quality. So Kanye at 4. 3, I have CL Smooth. Big fan of Pete Rock, and Pete Rock collaborates with CL Smooth a lot. Very like uplifting 90s type of hip hop. Great voice.
Jazzy
Number
as hell.
2, yeah, jazzy as hell.
Super jazzy.
Number 2, MF Doom. I actually didn't know anything about MF Doom till like 2 or 3 years ago, and then I just kind of went down the rabbit hole. And every time I find a new song, I seem to enjoy it even more. This is kind of off topic, but I feel very similar about Tame Impala. Like I didn't know anything about them. I missed the trend of like when they came and were huge, and then 2 or 3 years ago I got into them, and it seems like every song I find I really enjoy. So MF Doom is definitely like that. Still exploring more about him, but I just love all of his tracks. And then number 1, I think Siebes could have guessed this, knowing me for so long and like my music taste and all the time we spent in the Bool chamber, but I put Guru at number 1.
I knew it would be him.
From
I thought he would be
wow.
somewhere on the list.
Yeah.
What a pick.
Yeah. So like Steve's new,
Arguably
yeah. So
the best voice in rap history. One of them at least.
Yeah. I'm ashamed what happened to the good ones. It seems like all the great artists just go too soon. I don't know. We can like New Job is too, you know, like there's like all these great ones who just go too soon. Yeah. Jay Dilla.
For sure.
New Job
Okay,
has a
that's my
tremendous
top 5.
collaboration with CL Smooth too, I
Good.
believe, doesn't he? New
Yeah,
Job.
he does.
Yeah.
Sky
Definitely.
is Falling, I think is the name, right? Great song.
Yeah. Very good.
There's a lot, yeah. Okay, that's my top 5.
All right. Brian, you can go next, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I gotta say this was pretty challenging for me. I think when I think of like rap and hip hop, I have a lot of different areas that I think about it, but I just tried to find the most general that applied, and a lot of it is stuff that I've just like this list hasn't really changed that much in a very long time. But at number 5, I have Andre 3000.
Oh,
I
good
think Andre
pick.
3000 is
Yeah.
fucking awesome, and his flow is crazy. Also sings a little bit. Obviously, you know, Love Below, all the stuff with Outkast is amazing. At number 4, I have Lil Wayne. Of course, all of the Carter albums are iconic. You know, he has just so many iconic, you know, whatever the lighter flickering, you know, like things like that, that are such a staple of hip hop and things that are still remembered to this day. And so Lil Wayne, you know, I still listen to a Millie when I'm getting hype, when I'm working out and stuff like that. So, you know, Lil Wayne's number 4. Number 3 is kind of a cheater pick. I wanted to have something of the 90s hip hop type stuff, but it was supposed to not be groups. But I wanted something Tribe Called Quest related. So I had Fife, rest in peace. Right? Is that that's the right one? And then so I just wanted to have some representation with Tribe Called Quest and honor Fife and as part of my list. I love Midnight Marauders. Still listen to that to this day. It's a very classic thing that I um, love. That whole era. I love like the De La Soul era, Tribe Called Quest. These rap groups, but that one was definitely my favorite. So I wanted to have some kind of representation of that on my list. Number two, I had Nas. So many classic albums. Obviously, Illmatic is super crazy. It was written Nostradamus, Stillmatic. Like the list goes on and on. I've always just really liked Nas, and for all of like the big name guys, I just tended to like him the most. And then at number one, I have Kanye. Um, Similar reasons as Ashwin. I think he's just so iconic, and especially revisiting some of his story with the documentary out. I know nowadays he does have quite a bit of a controversial presence in the media, but just in terms of how I view his music and how his music has lasted with me through the years, Kanye would be my number one.
Solid
And that's my
list.
top five.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I struggled deeply with the Kanye selection for myself because I think if I were to say who's my favorite artist of all time, it would be Kanye, but I don't necessarily consider him my favorite rapper,
That's
if that
fair.
makes any sense.
That's fair.
So,
That is very
like,
fair.
Yeah.
I did
I
consider that.
yeah, like it's difficult because I don't think he's necessarily the most talented rapper ever, but the music as a product is like the best. Like it's yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Which is fair.
So
I
yeah.
can take that.
So
I think that's fair.
at 5 I have Lil Wayne. Um there was
Hey.
like a run where I think I just listened to Lil Wayne every day for like years in high school. He had probably the best run of any rapper in the modern era
Yeah, I
with
think so. Honestly,
between Cut
Like,
2 and 3, the
seriously.
mixtapes. Number 4, I had Future. Um, the first time I heard Future, I became like a fan, and I was pretty early on the Future wave, I'd say. And to see what he's become has been very fulfilling, I'd say, as a fan. Never thought that would really
Just to
happen.
comment on that real quick. Just to comment on that real quick. I think you showed me Future, and one of the first songs you showed me was Karate Chop, and that was before he like super blew up.
He was
Like
already pretty blown
I
up by
like that
then.
song. Yeah, he was big, but he wasn't like Future. You
Not
know what I
now,
mean?
no, yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So it was just kind of funny because that's how I got into Future.
3, I have Young Thug. Um, Young Thug, another one who I liked him before. I feel like when I first started like Young Thug, a lot of people were like, "Man, that guy sucks," and I was like, "I don't think so. I think he's like wildly talented. Like he's doing all this shit without writing anything down, and he says some of the most ridiculous shit ever, and it works. And it saddens me that he's in jail. I hope he gets freed, but
Yeah, that's crazy.
um, I'd say he's probably like the most unique artist of our time, or unique rapper at least. 2, I have Killa Cameron. I pretty much like everything Cameron's ever dropped, and I love his podcast these days. I'm happy he's doing well, and I think Cameron, that era with Dipset is legendary. We'll never see anything like that again. And then I think one is very easy for anybody to guess, but it's Bigavelli Max B, Free Max B. I think it's happening within a few years now. We've been waiting for like 20 fucking years now.
Is it?
And
Is it finally?
I believe it's 24, 25. But I don't know.
Oh
We've been
man.
teased so many times. And I'd
That's
say
throwback.
like what makes I don't know, Max to me is like super influential on what rap became because he was one of the first people I heard who would like do singing shit, and then now it feels like every rapper sings, and I feel like the mentality, like being wavy, saved me in a lot of times in my life. Like I would say, like keeping it wavy, like led me to not get as low in certain moments because you just gotta like go with the flow and shit. And seeing how he even has maintained that like spirit while being incarcerated all these years, like he's still wildly positive, is pretty incredible. So yeah, free Charlie, free Max B, Big Avelli, the greatest rapper of all time in my eyes. And that concludes our top five. And I'll say for honorable mentions, I had like Gucci, Prodigy of Mobb Deep,
I had
rest
so
in
many.
peace.
I had so many.
And then
I'll
yeah,
say two.
Chief Keef, I had that. And like Uzi was like my fourth, but Uzi I would say is a step below those three.
I said Rakim or Mostaf.
Rakeem's awesome and Mos
Very,
Def is awesome
very
too, yeah.
90s hip hop. The chill 90s hip hop vibe for sure.
Yeah.
Yassine Bey. I think he would
What about
prefer
you,
we call
Brian?
him that.
Yes, that's true.
I mean, people,
Yeah.
just people that I mean, Kendrick Lamar. I had
Oh
like
yeah.
CL Smooth. Like, I mean, I feel like I could make completely different lists for like every type of genre of rap. You know, like that 90s hip hop stuff. That's
Yeah.
like I could
True.
have like
Oh
an
yeah,
individual
for
top
sure.
five for that too, and like groups. So there's so many for the honorable mentions.
Like with my top 10 best rappers of all time or top 5, I think like I'd only put Lil Wayne on for my list on that like top 10 greatest. And maybe I put like Gucci, who's in my honorable mentions, but
For sure.
yeah, it's difficult as fuck. It's a very challenging exercise.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on top fives? Otherwise, we'll move to Bool or busts.
I'm good.
Okay. I'll start with my Bool. Brian, you should know, and you'll probably be angry with this one, but something that I realized is very Bool is Tabletop Simulator. So
God,
we were
dude.
playing a board game last night,
Oh my
Sebastian, called
god,
Dune
dude.
Imperium. You probably heard about it. We've mentioned it a
Yeah.
couple times. But me and Andrew have been like, and JT for that matter, have been grinding it on the online version. And so basically, it's like a sandbox where you can create anything, and some
No, it seems
guys have
awesome. I know
created,
what it is.
yeah, the board game version. And what
No, I'm talking about
it's
Tabletop
just like,
Simulator.
yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, imagine playing Monopoly where you just like click a button and then rolls the dice and it moves your piece for you and it automatically calculates all your money and everything's in a neat place. Like we were playing on a table and there just wasn't enough space. You couldn't shuffle. We had to shuffle constantly, shuffle and shuffle and shuffle, and like had to remember everything. Like there wasn't a clean way where everything was showing. Like this is why Andrew is winning, or these are the points he's won, and you can go back and look at the logs and stuff and always check your math and stuff. So for Dune Imperium, I think me and Andrew both decided that we can't do it anymore in real life.
You guys, that's been the decision.
Like it's way too convenient
I only
online,
play
man.
this. I play this game to hang out with my friends, and they just don't even. They don't care about the friend aspect, dude.
Oh please,
They're
Brian.
really they're
You were
really
the one to
grinding.
talk about that. Are you kidding me?
They're just there to grind the game, dude. I'm here to hang out with my friends, and they're like, oh, what an asshole,
Yeah.
dude.
It's just like too many pieces, too many moving things going on. So that's my Bool tabletop simulator, and then for my bust, I had I know what it was. So I got After's ice cream delivered earlier this week. I got a pint of After's ice cream. I don't know why. I think it's because the delivery fee was cheap. So I was like, oh, I'll try it. So I got a pint of what was their flavor of the week or month, which was a salted cookies and cream ice cream. And what is busty about these types of ice cream is that in all desserts in general, we don't need salted desserts. Desserts are meant to be sweet, and I like
Oh,
the
That's a
salted
bad take.
caramel. I could do without it.
yeah.
The salted
Well,
chocolate. I can do without it.
That's an
The
ass
salted
take.
the the ice cream. It literally tastes like salty Sebastian. It tastes like if you went and got really like nice quality cookies and cream ice cream, then put like a little bit of yellow dye and then salted it and put like salt all over it. That's
It's
what it
about the
tastes like.
marriage of flavors, Ashwin.
I'm a
Yeah,
big fan of salted.
on dessert.
Big
Don't
fan
fuck
of
with my
salted
dessert, man.
caramel. I like
Yeah,
salted
salted
caramel.
caramel is great.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
do
see the
too.
point in it. I think I mean, I understand there's people who have that taste. For me, I will never be into salted desserts. The vibe is the connection of those flavors for me is not good.
Very
So
basic
that's
flavor
my
profile
bust.
that you have. Very
No,
basic
very
flavor
very.
pal.
Steve's personally insulted by my celebratory or my this
I
week.
could see
Uh,
them overdoing it though with the after thing. I could see it.
flavor I got was excellent, but in general, I'm just not in for it. I just had one Bool or bust this week, so we've each. So Brian, you want to go?
Sure. I don't really have too many bulls, but I have two busts.
Good. Tell us, brother.
I mean, they're nothing too interesting. It's one of them is just car maintenance. It's partially
Oh,
also partially on my fault, but brought my car into the shop. I'll admit I haven't taken it in for a really long time, and this car's just the car's fine, but the biggest issue is I have to replace my tires, and it's just like an easy $1,000 to replace all of your tires. Because it's been a while, I haven't changed my tires, for however many years I've had the car, which is like 7 years. Which
oh my God.
I've been able to rotate the tires and keep it on, and I also just haven't gotten the car checked up in a while. But life knows how to beat you down when you really don't want it, and I have to replace all my tires. I have to replace my rear brake, and sometimes it would have been chiller
7 years?
if what
You said 7 years?
that I since I've changed my tires.
Yeah,
Maybe for like two of them. I know I had
for
to change a
sure.
couple other ones because of like a flat tire or something
But
like
we
that.
should let the listeners know how many years in between services, Brian. I think that's fair.
Probably the last one I had was probably like 2 years ago, or maybe two and
There
a
you
half years ago.
go.
Last service, so
That's
it's
fair.
deserved. It's deserved. It's deserved, but
Okay.
it's kind of my fault.
But the situation is busty, regardless
But
of
it would have
paying for
been,
your car and stuff.
it would have been
Yeah.
great if, I just didn't get my car maintenance and ignorance is bliss, right? And I just ride my car ignorantly knowing that it's a running death trap, but I can't drive it right now. So that's a bust. Another one is just very sandy roads when you're biking. I actually fell off my bike the
Hmm.
other day, and because I am clipped into my bike, I basically just like fell down in slow mo just because of there's
Is that
a
your hand scab?
yeah. That's why
Oh,
I have like
okay,
this
yeah.
really bad hand scab. Um, yeah, it's just an unmaintained road. I was going very slow because I didn't think it was very well maintained, but still fell and crashed and scraped my hand, and so that's an unfortunate bust. Maybe both of the situations are of my fault, but alas,
Second one is harsh. First one,
alas.
we'll give you the shit for the first one, but second one's
Yeah, the
harsh for
second
sure.
one is not really on you.
Alas, that is how the cookie crumbles, Sebastian. I'll pass it off to you.
All right. So I had a Bool and a bust. The first Bool is gonna make me sound like I'm the biggest fan of this person in the world because I think I mentioned his content 2 weeks ago. But I'll just give kudos where they're due. Ryan Russillo's run of form lately has been excellent. Uh, Big Cat followed by Van Lathan in 1 week is like tremendous content. I'd say Big Cat and Russillo are the best duo in the sports media business. Whenever they're together, I have to listen. Uh, Very fun. Uh, they bring out the best qualities in one another, I'd say. Because I'm not necessarily like a guy who watches Big Cat every day, but I'd say
You're,
in the right
you're not,
venue.
but you see a lot of yourself in Rosillo. Or
I don't know if I see a lot of myself in Russillo. I don't think that's necessarily accurate.
I don't
But
know, Steve.
yeah, he's an aspirational podcast figure, but that's about it, I'd say. He's had a no offense to anybody if they took it that way.
Send the
He's
demo
done a lot of
tape, dude. Don't
things.
send the demo tape to him.
He's done a legendary. He's a legend in the game. But I'd say it's good to see even legends can like up their game and return
Fair
to like
enough.
a high level of performance. And then my bust is just the state of Arizona as like a location for sports. Feel like most of the traumatic sporting events that have happened in my life. Or at least not most, but some of the really bad ones have happened when my
A lot
teams
of
have
them,
gone
yeah.
there. Going back like a decade with Wisconsin versus Arizona State and the Joel Stave fumble where the fat ass piece of shit ref couldn't even like get the ball set, so they ran out the clock without realizing it was a stupid ass decision from the refs. Then last night, USC struggling with this piece of shit Arizona State team, who honestly, like,
We
they have a
still
few good
won.
players. Yeah, but it was a terrible performance, and
Yeah,
like it was just very frustrating. And I was like hoping to be able to get to bed slightly earlier for the North London derby this morning, and it ended up with me having to go to. I didn't get very much sleep before the game. And then the fucking Cowboys today. That was just
Well,
disgusting to watch. They played like shit, and I just feel that Arizona, like DMX a while ago, referred to Arizona as the land of the devil, and I think it was for entirely
actually,
different reasons. But I'm going to say that Arizona is in fact the land of the devil, and I just wish it kind of ceased to exist as a venue for sporting events. I'll put it
What's
more
that?
mildly than what I was going to say, actually.
What's that line from King of the Hill that Peggy says? Arizona is a monument to man's arrogance, or something.
Yes, I believe that's a pretty good callback.
Yeah. So also for me, with a lot of Oregon stuff, Arizona and Utah for basketball and football have always been a
We all
thorn in my
know,
side.
as Pac-12 people, like we all know, like Arizona is the place you go on like a Friday or Saturday night. Your team's doing real well. They're not that good, and then all of a sudden you fucking lose, and your whole season's derailed.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
our friend or my friend Kyle's Huskies are going down there next Saturday, and the Huskies look tremendous, and it's just like fuck, like you never know what's gonna happen in that shithole. So yeah, sorry
Corey, you're pretty
Arizonans.
spicy today,
Yeah. Very
Sebastian.
astute.
Pretty
The
spicy
Cowboys
today,
Just
lost.
dude.
like your opening last week, I listened to it. It was very spicy. A little, what if we have Max Kellerman on the show in the future, Siebes? How are you gonna look him in the face?
Wasn't I don't think I said anything wrong about Max Kellerman.
You said like something along the lines of embarrassing people like Max Kellerman and these
No,
people
I
on
didn't say Max
ESPN or
Kellerman.
something.
I didn't say Max Kellerman. I know for a fact because I like Max. I may have. I didn't. I don't know if I named anyone specifically. I did do an impersonation of ESPN's most prominent person, and
Okay. Yeah.
he's
What if we
not.
get what if we get him on? Yeah. We're
That would
we're
be
in
a
the space now. You got to be ready for
it
anything.
would be it'd be a
It's
great
good
get,
opener.
and
Good icebreaker, dude.
he's
Yeah.
really willing. He's far too open for conflict, honestly, and he needs to chill because I'd say he's made a wild ass of himself lately.
Yes, I agree with that too. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fair.
No, yeah.
Um,
Pro Max definitely didn't call Max out. Um, I am curious who I did call out though, because I don't necessarily remember.
you definitely named a few people. I was like, oh, what if they come on the pod?
I
See,
think I positively named Tim Legler and said I wish they used him more. And I also said I wish they used or Kenny got more time to do like breakdowns. So I don't know. I don't
we'll
know
see.
about
Maybe I misheard.
yeah.
Song of the week this week is Brian's. You have one ready?
I do.
Very
It's
nice.
a
Tell us about it.
song
Yeah.
called "Grip" by Bucket. It's in the genre of like funk. So it's what it is mainly like hard beats with a nice melody. I think this one is not too complicated of a song. It just has nice sax and then like a good trap beat on it essentially. And this is more of a genre that got much more popular on SoundCloud and still remains pretty popular on SoundCloud, but is not as popular, let's say, on Spotify or some of the more mainstream services. It is in a sense a very amateur type of music, but Bucket is one of the big names in this space, and so the song is "Grip" by Bucket.
All right. See you guys next week. Thanks for joining.
Peace.
Peace.